Welcome to a new release on the show. This is the 5 questions to nourish the mind, body and soul. To get to know the person sat in front of me a little bit more and ask them questions they wouldn't normally have. This has become very quickly one of my favourite parts of the interview. Now, we are re-releasing these because we released these months ago for our paid subscribers over on my newsletter, The Compassionate Cure on Substack. If you're not a paid subscriber, you will get these months in advance as being part of our community. However, we are now starting to release them. So enjoy. This is more of a personal connection and a shorter episode, but it really gets into the heart and not into the mind of the person who is sat in front of me. Emilia, we are now going to do, to start off, the 5 questions to nourish your mind, body and soul for the Compassionate Cure on Substack. Okay, so I want you to answer these questions quite short and from the heart, not from the head. Okay, so do what the first thing comes to mind. Are you ready?
Okay.
What is the one small thing about you that makes you, you?
Courage.
Love that. Overcoming resistance. What's been the most persistent area of resistance in your life and how did you overcome it?
My love addiction. And I think it's doing the inner work. We're probably going to talk today about.
Yeah, we will. How long did it take you?
How would I say? From 5 to 7 years.
That's quite a key thing to say, I think, because I think most people will listen and think it's a quick fix, which it's a long journey, right?
If I would have had my book, it would maybe had been like a year or 2. But of course, because I didn't have any guidance. So I had to, there was some twists and turns until I found my way out from that darkness.
That could be part of the healing.
Yeah.
You know, the navigation.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be here without that part.
So small changes, big impact. What's the smallest change that has brought the most ease into your life? So nothing large, but something that's quite small that has actually made things quite easy.
Breathing. Maybe like learning how not to breathe actively.
You breathe through the nose.
Yeah, now I breathe, I think, normally and in a healthy way, but when I was unbalanced, so my breathing was superficial, kind of I was in a state of fight and flight all the time, and I wasn't aware of it. Even, I'm a medical doctor, but still. So I actually remember a time when I went to my osteopath, and he said that you can't come here before you learn how to breathe, because, we always want those quick fixes.
Yeah.
Like, can you fix my back? And I was addicted to also like that kind of treatments.
Yeah.
And now I must say that I can't remember a time that I would have needed an outsider come and fix me. So I think the key is to understand that I can fix it myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
I also love the book by James Nestor.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah,
He's
amazing.
Great. So health transformation. So what's the one health-related change that you've made that has significantly impacted your well-being?
One health-related small thing.
Oh, well, just
Big thing,
doesn't have to be a
anything.
small thing. It's anything that you've made a change to that's impacted your health.
I must say that there's not a one single thing. I just can't say it because, there's so many little things. I call these energetic pushes that, you start doing something, it's a big energetic push. It might be like treatment or a book you read or whatever. And then you finally end up in a balance that you can kind of do unhealthy stuff as well. Like these days, I feel that I think there's so much data and so many tips and people are right now really addicted to these wellness trends. You know better than I know.
I know.
How many things you should do before you leave your house.
Yeah.
So I'm now lazy. I don't do that shit anymore because I feel that I have this inner balance that I don't have to do it. So
but I guess that's your health-related change.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's impossible to say one. There's been hundreds of little things on the way that took me where I'm now. But to name one, I think it's impossible.
From listening, I would say, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, it's trusting your inner self.
Yeah. But I must say that when you're unbalanced, I love the saying that, know the difference between your intuition leading you or your trauma or your fear or your fear misleading you. Because, when there's pain and fear, so we are not aware that actually we can't be really intuitive because that's kind of guiding us. So we need to work with that, face the fear or whatever is blocking us to really listen our deeper self. And I think that was maybe the work. The one thing now, when you're asking what's the one thing, is like to make friends with my fears.
100%.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, and this is the last one. So what's been the hardest thing for you to make peace with about yourself or your life in general?
I think even driving here today, it's like being enough. Yeah, I think we still, even though I know I'm enough, but there are those moments that, is my English good enough and can I do it? And it's just like these insecurities that are creeping in. Just to accept that we don't have to be better than we are, that it's enough to be what we are. And kind of trust that also I was struggling with for a long time about being a medical doctor and whether I'm allowed to do different kind of stuff. And so the step that I had the courage to start acting and do all kind of stuff that I wasn't supposed to do as a medical doctor. So that was so, liberating. And that gave me so much energy. And that really took me to the path of being able to create more books and stuff that I feel that is super purposeful and now keeps me on the right track. And also was kind of the antidote for my addiction.
Yeah, I think there's something really powerful in that combination, because what I believe is the most important part of any health related change is storytelling. I think you've got to have the scientific evidence there, but if you can make it communicable and relatable to people, right? So that the side that you went into acting gives you a dimension of storytelling. And then the fact that you've got like your medical background to back it up, like together, that sounds like an incredible recipe for somebody to communicate all of the powerful tools that one needs.
Yeah. Well, you never know. I must say that when I was living in LA and taking acting classes, this was almost like 20 years ago. So when I came back to Finland and I was working at the ER, so I actually realized that those acting classes were super beneficial because acting is about learning to be present in the moment and just react, as we're probably like trying to do that here. Like you're asking me a question, and instead of going in my head, I just kind of really react from my heart. And those tools that I learned from the acting lessons, actually, I felt that they made me a better doctor because I was more present with my patients and I kind of trusted myself. But then again, after that came those dark years and addiction crept in. We will talk later more about it. So I kind of lost that.
Yeah.
I lost that for a while. And I have said it that I felt that I was a shitty doctor. I wasn't able to be present in the moment and I wasn't able to be connect with myself. So I wasn't really being able to connect with the patients. And I think that's a thing that a lot of doctors these days are struggling with.
Yeah.
That actually the moment when we meet with our patients, the healing happens when there's a true connection and you're holding the space. And there's even research that if a doctor asks the patient a question, like, has there been anything difficult in your life? So the tendency to them to come back drops hugely. So I think, and these days, many doctors don't have that time to even ask that question. They're just like, writing on the computer and not being in the moment.
It's empathy, right? Because empathy draws connection, sympathy draws disconnection. So having that empathetic lens to a patient is huge.
Yeah, and the oxytocin in place, which also increases empathy. And it's like, kind of bringing these hormones in. So the point is basically like if whatever we can call it, a doctor, healer, therapist, if your oxytocin baseline is not in place, there won't be a real connection between the patient either. And I think it's super fascinating what we are now learning about these neurochemicals. And for example, in this new book, so I'm really kind of opening a new way of thinking about these, kind of a deeper understanding. What are these molecules trying to communicate with us? And not just, having this reductionist way of thinking that dopamine, it's a molecule of anticipation and motivation. Yes, it is. But these molecules, they always interact with each other.
Yeah.
So you can't really talk about dopamine without serotonin and oxytocin and actually cortisol and other hormones. But then you have to, of course, take some shortcuts to kind of explain stuff in a way that people will understand.
Well, I can't wait to jump into that in this episode. And I love that you referenced that question as an answer for not, knowing that you're enough, because a lot of my work is centered in self-compassion.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most revolutionary things that you can make in your life, knowing that you are actually good enough and you're going to mess up and you're human and you're going to have mistakes. But I think actually what that does drive you to do is then create the work that you've done. So thank you so much for sharing that. And
thank you.
I'm very excited
Me
about
too.
our episodes.
So great to be here.